The Krethian warship cut through the darkness of space like a blade. Commander Vexnar stood on the bridge, his 4 arms crossed behind his back as he watched the blue planet grow larger on the view screen. Earth, the humans called it. A pathetic little world on the edge of nowhere. Vexnar had fought in 32 campaigns across the galaxy. He had conquered species with technology far beyond what these humans possessed. This mission would be simple. 300 of his best warriors against a planet that barely knew how to leave its own atmosphere. The High Council had laughed when he volunteered for this assignment. They thought it was beneath him. But Vexnar understood something his peers did not. Every conquest added to the Empire's glory. Even small victories mattered. Besides, the humans had something the Empire wanted. Their planet sat on a nexus of hyperspace lanes. Control Earth, and the Empire could expand in 3 new directions. "Sir, we are entering their sensor range," his tactical officer reported. "Broadcast the terms," Vexnar ordered. The message went out in all of Earth's primitive languages. Surrender now, or face destruction. It was standard procedure. Most species surrendered. Fighting the Krethian Empire was suicide. Thousands of kilometers away, alarms screamed throughout Orbital Defense Station Sentinel-7. Captain Jake Morrison ran onto the command deck, still pulling on his jacket. He was a career officer, 20 years in space, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. "Talk to me," he shouted over the noise. Lieutenant Amy Chen looked up from her console, her face pale. "Unknown vessel, Captain. Big. Really big." "They just sent us a message." Jake listened to the transmission. His blood ran cold. This was not a first contact scenario. This was an invasion. "Get me Admiral Reeves, now." On Earth's surface, in the underground command center in Colorado, Admiral Kate Reeves stared at the same message. Around her, officers from every nation waited for her orders. The United Earth Defense Council had been formed 5 years ago when humanity detected the first signs of alien life. Everyone had hoped first contact would be peaceful. "Options," Kate said, her voice steady despite the fear in her chest. General Paul Henderson, commander of ground forces, spoke first. "Our weapons are untested against alien technology. We have no idea what we're facing." "Then we find out," Kate replied. "Send the response. Tell them we will not surrender our home." The message went back to the Krethian ship. Vexnar read it and felt something he had not experienced in years. Surprise. These humans were refusing. He almost respected them for it. Almost. "Destroy their orbital defenses," he ordered. "Show them we are serious." The Krethian ship fired. Energy beams lanced through space and struck 2 defense satellites. They exploded in brilliant flashes. On Sentinel-7, Jake watched the destruction and knew they were next. "Amy, can we hit them?" he asked. "Our missiles won't make it through their shields, Captain. Our lasers are mining equipment, not weapons." Jake thought fast. Mining lasers were designed to cut through asteroids. They were powerful but slow, not meant for combat. But what if they pushed them beyond safe limits? "Overload all mining lasers. Point them at that ship and fire everything at once." Amy's eyes went wide. "Sir, that could blow out our entire power grid." "Do it!" The station's 8 mining lasers powered up beyond their safety ratings. The energy draw was massive. Lights flickered across the station as every spare bit of power was redirected. Then all 8 lasers fired at the exact same point on the alien ship's hull. The combined beam struck the Krethian shields. For a moment, nothing happened. Then cracks appeared in the energy barrier. Sparks flew across the alien ship's hull as the shields collapsed in one section. Alarms blared on the Krethian bridge. Vexnar stared at the damage report in disbelief. "How did they penetrate our shields?" "Unknown, Commander. Their weapons should not have been strong enough." This changed things. Vexnar had assumed this would be a simple show of force. Now he realized these humans might actually fight back. It did not matter. They were still primitives. His warriors would crush them. Launch landing parties. 3 locations. We will take their planet piece by piece. The Krethian ship opened its launch bays. 300 drop pods fell toward Earth like meteors. They streaked through the atmosphere, their shields glowing white-hot from the friction. Humans on the ground watched them fall and knew their world would never be the same. In Colorado, Captain Chris Walker assembled his Marines. They wore the best armor humanity could build and carried weapons that had never been tested in real combat. Chris looked at the faces of his soldiers. Young men and women who had joined the military to serve their planet. Now they would face an alien invasion. "Listen up," Chris shouted. "We don't know what's coming down in those pods, but this is our home. Our families are behind us. We hold the line here. Understood?" "Yes, sir," the Marines shouted back. The first pods hit the ground in the Rocky Mountains. The doors opened, and Krethian warriors emerged. They stood 3 meters tall, covered in thick armor, carrying weapons that hummed with power. Their personal shields shimmered around them like soap bubbles. Chris gave the order to fire. Bullets and rockets flew toward the aliens. The rounds struck the shields and bounced off harmlessly. The Krethians did not even flinch. Then they fired back. Energy beams tore through the Marine positions. Bodies fell. Screams filled the air. In the first 60 seconds, 30 Marines died. Chris watched his people fall and felt rage building inside him. "Fall back," he ordered. "Into the mountains!" The Marines retreated, and the Krethians followed. Vexnar watched the battle feed from orbit and allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. The humans were running, as expected. By tomorrow, they would be begging to surrender. But Vexnar had never fought humans before. He did not understand what they were capable of when their backs were against the wall. He did not know that humans had spent thousands of years perfecting the art of war against each other. And he definitely did not know that humans never ever gave up when defending their home. The war for Earth had just begun, and nothing would ever be the same again. The Krethian warriors moved through the Rocky Mountains like they owned the place. They had chased the human Marines for 3 hours, cutting them down whenever they got too close. 50 humans lay dead in the snow. The aliens had not lost a single warrior. Their shields were perfect. Their weapons were unstoppable. Captain Chris Walker crouched behind a rock formation, breathing hard. His battalion was down to half strength. Every time they tried to fight, the shields protected the aliens. Bullets did nothing. Rockets did nothing. It was like shooting at ghosts. "Captain, we can't win this fight," Sergeant Danny Foster said beside him. Danny was a combat engineer, the guy who built bridges and blew things up. Right now, he looked terrified. "We're not trying to win," Chris replied. "We're trying to survive long enough to figure out how to hurt them." He watched the aliens through his binoculars. They were efficient killers, but they were also arrogant. They walked in the open, not bothering to take cover. Why would they? Nothing could touch them. Then Chris noticed something. One of the aliens walked through a stream of freezing water. For just a second, his shield flickered. Just a tiny glitch, but it was there. "Danny, did you see that?" "See what, sir?" "The water. The cold water made his shield flicker." Chris's mind was racing. "What happens to energy when it gets hit by extreme temperature changes?" Danny's eyes went wide. "It destabilizes. Sir, are you thinking what I think you're thinking? There's a frozen lake 2 clicks north. How much thermite do we have left?" "Enough to make a very big boom." Chris smiled for the first time that day. "Then let's go fishing." They moved fast, leading the aliens toward the frozen lake. The Krethians followed, confident in their superiority. They had killed so many humans already. These last few would die just as easily. The Marines set their trap. Danny and his engineers drilled through the ice at 6 different points and placed thermite charges below the surface. Thermite burned at over 2,000 degrees, hot enough to melt steel, hot enough to boil water instantly. The aliens reached the lake. They walked onto the ice without hesitation. Chris waited until all 20 of them were in position. Then he gave the signal. The thermite charges exploded. Superheated water erupted through the ice. The sudden blast of extreme heat hit the alien shields, and they lit up like Christmas trees. Then the Marines opened fire with everything they had. Bullets poured into the already stressed shields. The shields held for 3 seconds. Then they collapsed. Without their shields, the Krethians were just soldiers in armor. Human bullets tore through them. 5 aliens fell in the first volley. The others tried to retreat, but the ice was breaking apart beneath them. They fell into the freezing water. Their armor was too heavy. They sank. Chris watched them disappear below the surface and felt no satisfaction, only grief for his own dead. But at least now they knew the aliens could die. Far to the south, in the Sahara Desert, Commander Helen Shaw was learning the same lesson in a different way. She led a team of Special Forces soldiers from 12 different nations, Navy SEALs, British SAS, Russian Spetsnaz, all working together for the first time. The aliens had landed in the desert thinking it would be easy terrain. No cover, no civilians, just open sand. They could hunt the humans like animals. But Helen had grown up in Arizona. She knew deserts, and she knew that sandstorms could strip paint off a car. "Wait for the storm," she told her team over the radio. "When visibility drops, we move." The sandstorm hit like a wall. Wind howled across the dunes at 80 kilometers per hour. Sand filled the air so thick you could not see your hand in front of your face. The Krethians' advanced sensors suddenly became useless. The sand interfered with everything. Helen's team attacked from all sides at once. They used simple weapons: knives, close-range shotguns, explosives. They would appear out of the storm, kill an alien, and disappear before the others could react. The Krethians tried to form defensive positions, but you cannot defend against an enemy you cannot see. By the time the storm passed, 30 Krethian warriors lay dead in the sand. Helen's team had lost 15 soldiers, but they had proven something important. The aliens were not invincible. They could bleed. They could die. In Siberia, Colonel Greg Petrov was having similar success. The brutal Russian winter was proving to be humanity's best weapon. The Krethians' equipment was not designed for extreme cold. Their weapons misfired, their armor became brittle, and their heat signatures glowed like beacons in the frozen wasteland. Greg's soldiers used old-fashioned sniper tactics: one shot, one kill, then move before the aliens could respond. They laid mines in the snow. They collapsed buildings on top of alien patrols. They turned the entire landscape into a death trap. The Krethians were dying, slowly but steadily. On the warship orbiting Earth, Commander Vexnar watched the casualty reports with growing anger. This was not supposed to happen. These humans were primitives. They should have surrendered by now. Instead, they were fighting like demons. He had lost 70 warriors in just 2 days. 70 of his best soldiers killed by a species that barely had spaceflight. It was embarrassing. It was unacceptable. Vexnar opened a communication to the High Council. "I require reinforcements. The humans are more dangerous than anticipated." There was a long silence on the other end. Then the council leader spoke. "You have 300 elite warriors. You are telling us you cannot conquer one primitive planet?" These humans adapt quickly. They learn from every engagement. They are using tactics we have never encountered. Another pause. Then, "You will have your reinforcements. 3 ships, 1,500 warriors. This is the largest force we have ever sent to a single world. Do not fail us again, Vexnar." The communication ended. Vexnar stared at Earth on his view screen. He had thought this would be easy. He had been wrong. But it did not matter. 1,500 warriors would crush this planet. The humans had gotten lucky a few times. Their luck was about to run out. On Earth, in the command center, Admiral Kate Reeves received reports from all 3 battlefronts. The news was mixed. They were killing aliens, yes, But they were losing too many people doing it, and the casualty reports from the cities were getting worse. The aliens had started targeting civilian areas. "They're trying to break our will," General Paul said. Kate shook her head. "They don't understand us at all. Every civilian they killed just makes us angrier. We're not going to surrender. We're going to make them regret ever coming here." Dr. Lisa Martinez entered the command center carrying a piece of alien equipment. It was a shield generator, recovered from a dead Krethian in Colorado. "I need more time to study this," Lisa said. "But I think I understand how it works. If we can build our own version, we might be able to create weapons that can penetrate theirs." "How long?" Kate asked. "Weeks, maybe months." "We might not have that long. Work faster." Lisa nodded and left. Kate turned back to the tactical display. 3 more alien ships were on their way. 1,500 more warriors. The odds were getting worse by the hour. But Kate had spent 30 years in the military. She had fought in the Eurasian conflict and the Pacific Water Wars. She had seen humanity at its worst and its best, and she knew one thing for certain. Humans did not give up, ever. The aliens could send 1,000 ships and 1,000,000 warriors, it would not matter. This was Earth. This was home. And humanity would fight until there was nothing left to fight with. The war was just beginning. The 3 Krethian warships arrived in Earth's orbit like harbingers of death. Each one was twice the size of the first ship. Together, they carried 1,500 of the Empire's absolute best warriors. The High Council had made it clear to Vexnar. This was his last chance. Win or never return home. Vexnar studied the tactical maps of Earth. The humans had been clever so far. They used their environment, their weather, their terrain. But now he would take that advantage away. He would attack their cities. No mountains to hide in, no storms to use, just concrete and steel and millions of civilians. "Launch all forces," he commanded. "Target their population centers. Show them what resistance costs." On Earth, every alarm in every city began to scream at once. People looked up at the sky and saw the alien drop pods falling like rain. They were coming to New York, London, Tokyo, São Paulo, Mumbai. 5 of the largest cities on the planet, all under attack at the same time. Admiral Kate Reeves watched the invasion unfold from the command center. Her hands gripped the edge of the tactical table so hard her knuckles turned white. Millions of lives were at risk. Everything depended on the next few hours. "All units, this is it," she broadcast to every soldier, every police officer, every citizen who could hold a weapon. "This is where we make our stand. Fight for your homes. Fight for your families. Show them what humanity means." In New York City, police officer Jake Sullivan had been on duty when the invasion began. He had sent his wife and daughter to the evacuation shelters, then stayed behind to help. Now he stood on 5th Avenue with a rifle he barely knew how to use, watching alien warriors march down the street. The Krethians opened fire on buildings, bringing them down to create barriers. Civilians ran screaming. Jake wanted to run too. Every instinct told him to flee. But he thought about his daughter, hiding in a shelter somewhere below the city. If he ran, who would protect her? He raised his rifle and fired. The bullet bounced off the alien's shield, but Jake did not stop. He kept firing. Other people joined him. Other police officers, firefighters, regular citizens. They poured out of buildings with hunting rifles, shotguns, anything they could find. The Krethians laughed at first, these pathetic humans with their primitive weapons. But the humans kept coming. When one fell, 2 more appeared. The aliens had to keep moving, keep fighting, never got a moment to rest. It was like fighting an entire planet. High above the city, Lieutenant Amy Davis flew her fighter jet toward the alien warships. She was part of a squadron of 20 jets, all that remained of the Air Force in the region. They carried experimental EMP bombs, electromagnetic pulses that Dr. Lisa Martinez thought might disrupt alien systems. "Remember," Amy said over the radio, "we only get one shot at this. Make it count." The jets streaked toward the nearest Krethian warship. The aliens fired back with energy beams that cut through the sky. 3 jets exploded immediately, then 5 more. Amy watched her friends die but kept flying. They had known this was a suicide mission when they volunteered. 10 jets remained, then 7. Amy's jet shook as an energy beam passed too close. Alarms screamed in her cockpit. She was hit, losing altitude fast. But she was close enough now. She armed her EMP bomb and released it directly at the alien ship. "For Earth!" she screamed. Her jet exploded a second later, but the bomb kept going. It struck the Krethian ship's hull and detonated. The electromagnetic pulse washed over the vessel like a wave. Every system on the ship flickered. Shields dropped. Weapons went offline. The massive ship began to drift, powerless. The other jets released their bombs too. The second warship took 3 direct hits. It broke apart, pieces falling toward the ocean below. 12 pilots had died, but they had taken down an entire alien warship. On Earth, people cheered. In the command center, Admiral Kate allowed herself a tiny smile. But the battle was far from over. In London, the Krethians were learning that urban warfare was nothing like open field combat. Every building was a fortress. Every street was a killing zone. Humans attacked from windows, from sewers, from rooftops. The aliens could not watch every direction at once. British Special Forces, led by Captain Oliver Stone, had rigged entire blocks with explosives. When the aliens entered the trap, Oliver detonated everything at once. Buildings collapsed on top of the Krethians. Their shields protected them from the falling debris, but they were buried, trapped. Then the humans poured gasoline into the rubble and lit it on fire. The heat overwhelmed the shields. The aliens burned. In Tokyo, the battle was even more desperate. The Krethians had landed near the city center where millions of people still remained. Japanese self-defense forces engaged them in the streets while civilians evacuated. Private Kenji Tanaka held a machine gun at a barricade, his hands shaking so badly he could barely aim. He had never been in real combat before. None of them had. The aliens advanced, their shields glowing as bullets bounced off. Kenji kept firing anyway. Then something unexpected happened. The shields began to flicker. They were still strong, but the constant barrage of gunfire was slowly draining them. It took thousands of bullets, but eventually the shields collapsed. The alien behind it fell. Kenji could not believe it. They could do this. It was slow. It was costly. But they could win. Back in Colorado, Commander Vexnar decided to lead an assault himself. The humans had proven more resilient than expected, but they were still inferior. He would show them what a true Krethian warrior could do. He would attack their command center personally and kill their leaders. Vexnar took 50 of his best warriors and launched directly toward Geneva, where the United Earth Defense Council was headquartered. They landed outside the city and began their march. Human forces tried to stop them. Tanks, attack helicopters, artillery, nothing worked. Vexnar and his warriors cut through every defense like it was made of paper. They reached the command center in 4 hours. It was a massive underground bunker designed to survive nuclear war. But the Krethians had weapons that could bore through solid rock. They began cutting their way inside. Inside the bunker, Captain Kate Brennan assembled her Special Forces team. They were the last line of defense. If the aliens got past them, the entire command structure would be killed. Every general, every admiral, everyone who was leading the war effort. "This is it," Kate told her team. "We hold them here or we die trying." The aliens broke through. Vexnar entered the corridor with his warriors behind him. Kate and her team opened fire from behind reinforced positions. The shields held, but Kate noticed something. These shields were weaker than the ones they had faced before. Maybe because the aliens had been fighting for hours. Maybe because their power was running low. "Focus fire!" she screamed. "One target at a time!" All 20 soldiers concentrated their fire on a single alien. Thousands of rounds hit the shield in seconds. It collapsed. The alien fell. They moved to the next target. The corridor became a shooting gallery. The Krethians had better weapons and armor, but in the tight space, numbers mattered more. Vexnar realized too late that he had made a mistake. He had walked into a death trap. His warriors fell one by one. He tried to retreat, but Kate Brennan was there, blocking his path. Her rifle was empty. His energy weapon had overheated. They faced each other, and for a moment time seemed to stop. Then Kate pulled out her combat knife. Vexnar laughed. A primitive blade against a Krethian warrior? Impossible. He reached for her, confident in his superior strength. Kate did not try to match his strength. She was faster. She ducked under his arms, slid across the floor, and drove her knife up under his armor. Finding the weak joint she had studied in every piece of alien equipment they had recovered. The blade went through. Vexnar looked down in shock. He, Commander Vexnar, killed by a human with a simple knife. He fell to his knees, then collapsed. Kate stood over him, breathing hard. Her entire team was dead around her, but she had stopped the alien commander. The remaining Krethians in the bunker retreated. Without their leader, they lost their coordination. Human forces pushed them back, out of the bunker, out of the city. In orbit, the surviving Krethian ships received reports from all fronts. They had lost over 700 warriors. A second warship was destroyed. Their best commander was dead, and the humans were still fighting, still resisting, still killing. The Krethian High Council received the reports and could not believe what they were reading. This was impossible. A primitive species should not be capable of this level of resistance. But the humans had proven something today. They would rather die than surrender. And that made them the most dangerous enemy the Krethian Empire had ever faced. The Krethian High Council made their decision. No more small forces. No more measured responses. They would send the Grand Fleet, 10 warships carrying 5,000 warriors, plus planet-killer weapons. If humanity would not surrender, then humanity would cease to exist. The message reached Earth 3 days before the fleet arrived. Admiral Kate Reeves read it in the command center, surrounded by what remained of Earth's military leadership. The message was simple. You have 3 days to surrender. After that, we will erase your species from existence. The room was silent. Everyone knew what was coming. They had barely survived the first wave with 1,500 aliens. Now, 5,000 were coming, plus weapons that could destroy entire continents. General Paul Henderson spoke first. We can't win this fight, not conventionally. We should evacuate who we can and prepare for resistance from underground. Kate shook her head. There's nowhere to evacuate to. This is it. This is where we make our final stand. Dr. Lisa Martinez entered the room carrying a data pad. She looked exhausted. She had not slept in 4 days, working non-stop on captured alien technology. I have an idea. It's crazy. It probably won't work. But it's the only chance we have. She brought up a hologram showing Earth's orbit. Every satellite, every space station, every piece of space debris was highlighted. We can't build weapons powerful enough to stop them, but we don't need to build anything. We already have everything we need in orbit. I don't understand, Kate said. Lisa smiled grimly. We turn our entire orbital infrastructure into one giant weapon. Every satellite gets rigged with nuclear warheads. Every space station becomes a missile platform. We fill orbit with thousands of hidden weapons. When they arrive, we hit them from every direction at once. Colonel Nina Freeman, the chief engineer, stared at the hologram. That would turn our orbit into a debris field for decades. We wouldn't be able to launch anything. We'd be trapped on Earth. We're already trapped, Lisa replied. At least this way, we might survive. Kate looked at the plan. It was insane. It would cost them their future in space. But if they did nothing, they would not have a future at all. Do it. We have 3 days. Use every resource we have left. The next 72 hours were the most frantic in human history. Every engineer, every scientist, every soldier who could hold a wrench was sent into orbit. They worked in shifts around the clock, converting peaceful satellites into weapons of war. Nuclear warheads were pulled from their silos and launched into space. Chemical rockets became kinetic missiles. Solar panels became shrapnel bombs. Everything, absolutely everything, was weaponized. On the ground, cities evacuated. Millions of people moved underground, into subway tunnels and bomb shelters. They knew what was coming. Many would not survive, but they would face it together. Fighter pilot Commander Matt Riley stood in the hangar bay, looking at his squadron. 12 pilots remained from the original 50. They were all volunteers. They all knew this mission would be their last. Our job is simple, Matt told them. When the alien fleet arrives, we fly directly into their flagship. We don't try to fight. We just ram them with everything we have. Our jets are loaded with explosives. We are the delivery system. Nobody spoke. They all understood. This was a suicide mission, but someone had to do it. Pilot Sarah Kim raised her hand. Sir, what if we miss? Matt looked at her. She was 23 years old, fresh out of training. Then we die trying, but we won't miss. We can't afford to. The fleet arrived exactly on schedule. 10 massive warships dropped out of hyperspace and entered Earth's orbit. They were beautiful in a terrible way, sleek and deadly, covered in weapons. Inside the flagship, the new Krethian commander, War Master Krenvor, looked down at Earth with satisfaction. Begin the bombardment, he ordered. Target their major cities first. I want to see them beg for mercy. The warships powered up their planet-killer weapons. Energy built up in massive cannons that could crack continents. On Earth, people huddled in shelters and prayed. Some held their children, some held weapons. All of them waited for the end. Then Admiral Kate gave the order. Activate everything now! In orbit, every hidden weapon activated at once. Thousands of satellites that the aliens thought were harmless suddenly became deadly. Nuclear warheads launched from all directions. Kinetic missiles accelerated to incredible speeds. Laser platforms that had been disguised as communications arrays opened fire. The aliens found themselves surrounded by a cloud of death. The Krethian shields lit up as the first impacts hit, but there were too many attacks coming from too many directions. Shields that were designed to stop a few missiles were overwhelmed by hundreds hitting at once. The first warship's shields collapsed. Nuclear explosions ripped across its hull. The ship broke apart. War Master Krenvor could not believe what he was seeing. How? How do they have this many weapons? Sir, they've turned their entire orbital infrastructure into weapons. Everything in orbit is attacking us. Then destroy it all. The Krethian warships fired back, vaporizing satellites and space stations. But for every weapon they destroyed, 10 more attacked. The space around Earth became a storm of explosions and debris. 2 more warships went down, their hulls torn open by sustained bombardment. That was when Matt Riley and his squadron made their move. 12 fighter jets launched from a hidden base in the Arctic. They flew at maximum speed, burning through fuel they would never need to land with. The aliens tried to shoot them down. 7 jets exploded before they got close, but 5 made it through. Matt flew his jet directly at the flagship's hangar bay. He could see the opening, could see the alien fighters launching to intercept him. He armed every explosive on his jet. Behind him, the 4 other pilots did the same. It's been an honor, Matt said over the radio. Honor, the others replied. The 5 jets flew into the hangar bay at full speed and exploded simultaneously. The blast was massive, amplified by all the fuel and ammunition in the hangar. Fire ripped through the flagship's interior. Secondary explosions followed as fuel lines ruptured and weapon stores detonated. The flagship began to break apart. On the ground, Sergeant Eric Wade led a combined force attacking a Krethian command post in Australia. The aliens had landed trying to establish a beachhead, but Dr. Lisa Martinez had given them a gift. She had cracked the alien communication codes. "Now!" Eric shouted. They uploaded a virus into the alien network. It spread through their systems like wildfire, disrupting shield generators and targeting computers. Suddenly, every Krethian soldier on the ground found their equipment failing. Their shields flickered and died. Their weapons jammed. They were vulnerable. Human forces hit them from all sides. Without their technology advantage, the aliens were just soldiers in heavy armor, outnumbered 1,000 to 1. The humans showed no mercy. Every alien at the command post was killed within an hour. In orbit, the battle was turning. Of the 10 Krethian warships, 6 were destroyed or disabled. The remaining 4 tried to retreat, but Earth's weapons followed them. Nuclear missiles chased them out of orbit. Energy beams tracked them through space. The aliens had come to destroy humanity. Now humanity was destroying them. One ship managed to jump to hyperspace, badly damaged but intact. The other 3 broke apart trying to escape Earth's gravity well. Debris rained down on the planet, burning up in the atmosphere like artificial meteors. In the command center, Admiral Kate Reeves watched the last alien ship disappear. Around her, people were cheering, crying, hugging each other. They had won. Against all odds, they had actually won. But the victory was costly. Orbit was filled with debris. Millions had died in the bombardments. Cities lay in ruins, and they had used up almost every weapon they had. If another fleet came, they would have nothing left to fight with. Kate looked at the damage reports and felt no joy, only exhaustion. They had survived, but just barely, and the message was clear. The galaxy was dangerous. Humanity was no longer alone, and their neighbors were hostile. "Start search and rescue operations," she ordered, "and get me a count of survivors. We need to know what we have left." "Yes, ma'am." Kate walked to the window and looked up at the sky. Somewhere out there, one alien ship was limping home, and when it arrived, it would tell its people what happened here. It would tell them that humans could not be conquered, that humans would fight to the last breath. The war was over, but humanity's place in the galaxy was just beginning. The damaged Krethian warship limped through space for 3 months. Its hyperdrive was barely functional. Its hull was breached in 17 places, and half its crew was dead. Junior Commander Relvok sat in the captain's chair, a position he had never wanted. All the senior officers were dead. He was in command only because everyone above him had been killed. Relvok had been a tactical officer, comfortable analyzing battles from a safe distance. Now he was responsible for bringing home the survivors and delivering the worst news in Krethian history. They had sent 5,000 warriors to conquer a primitive planet. Fewer than 50 were coming home. When the ship finally entered Krethian space, military vessels surrounded it immediately. They thought it was a trick, a human attack. When they realized it was actually one of their own ships, the shock was even worse. Relvok was brought before the High Council in chains. They did not believe his report. It was impossible. An entire grand fleet destroyed by primitives? Ridiculous. He had to be a coward or a traitor. Maybe both. "Show them the recordings," Relvok said quietly. "Just show them what we faced." The High Council watched the battle footage. They saw Earth's orbit light up with thousands of weapons, all firing at once. They saw their proud warships break apart and fall. They saw human pilots flying suicide missions directly into their ships. They saw soldiers charging alien positions knowing they would die just to buy their comrades a few more seconds. The council chamber was silent when the recordings ended. Nobody spoke for a long time. Finally, the eldest council member, Supreme Leader Vornesh, stood up. "This cannot be real. Primitives do not fight like this." Relvok met his eyes. "They are not primitives. That was our mistake. They have less advanced technology, yes, but they have something we do not understand. They call it humanity. It makes them dangerous beyond anything we have encountered. Explain. Relvak pulled up more footage. Watch this. A human female, armed only with a blade, killed Commander Vexnar in close combat. Here, human pilots destroyed a warship by flying directly into it. They knew they would die. They did it anyway, and here millions of civilians fought alongside their soldiers, not because they were ordered to, because they chose to. He showed them image after image. Humans fighting from buildings. Humans using primitive weapons against superior technology and somehow winning. Humans refusing to surrender even when their cities were burning. Humans dying by the thousands but never ever giving up. They did not fight to conquer, Relvak said. They fought to survive. Every human, from their soldiers to their children, was part of the war effort. We sent 5,000 warriors. They sent everyone, their entire species united against us. Supreme Leader Vornash sat down heavily. Show me their leaders. Relvak displayed an image of Admiral Kate Reeves. She stood in front of a ruined city, covered in dust and blood, but her eyes were hard as steel. Next to her was Dr. Lisa Martinez, the scientist who had hacked their military network and disabled their shields. And there were dozens more. Soldiers, pilots, engineers, all of them exhausted but unbroken. These are not the faces of a defeated species, Vornash observed. No, Supreme Leader, they are not. Relvak played one final recording. It was a transmission that had been broadcast from Earth during the final battle. Dr. Lisa Martinez stood in front of a camera, wounded but alive, and spoke directly to the Krathian ships. To whoever is watching this from space, to whoever commands these ships, we did not want this war. We tried to refuse it peacefully. But you gave us no choice. So here is what we learned. We learned how your shields work. We learned how your weapons function. We learned how to kill you. And we will remember. If you come for us again, we will be ready. Next time, we will not let any of you leave. This is not a threat. This is a promise. Stay away from Earth. The council chamber erupted in angry shouts. Some demanded immediate retaliation. Others called for sending the entire Krathian armada to glass the planet. But Vornash raised his hand for silence. Relvak, how long were you at Earth? 4 months, Supreme Leader. And in those 4 months, how much did the humans improve? Relvak hesitated. They started by barely scratching our shields. By the end, they had developed weapons specifically designed to penetrate them. They reversed-engineered our technology faster than we thought possible. They went from defending their cities to attacking our ships in orbit. If we had stayed another month, I believe they would have developed spacecraft capable of chasing us into deep space. So they learn quickly. Very quickly, Supreme Leader. And they never forget. Every tactic we used, they adapted to. Every weapon we deployed, they found a counter for. Fighting them was like fighting a species that evolved specifically to wage war. Vornash looked at the other council members. Then we have a decision to make. We can send our entire armada to destroy them. It would take 10,000 ships. We would lose perhaps half of them. And in the process, we would teach the humans even more about our technology. Or we leave them alone, Relvak finished. Some council members protested, but Vornash silenced them. Consider what we know. The humans are adaptable, resilient, and completely united when threatened. They have now captured significant amounts of our technology. They have proven they can reverse engineer it. If we attack again, they will be ready. And what happens in 20 years? 50 years? A species that learns this quickly will eventually match our technology, possibly surpass it. Do we want them as enemies? The council debated for hours, but in the end, Vornash's logic won. The cost of destroying humanity was too high. Better to avoid them entirely. The Krathian Empire issued an official decree. The Sol system was declared forbidden territory. any ship that entered human space would receive no support or rescue. Warning beacons were placed at the borders of their space. The message was clear in every language the Empire knew. Do not engage the humans. They are more dangerous than they appear. Other alien civilizations intercepted these warnings. Some laughed at first. The mighty Krethian Empire, afraid of one small planet? But then they accessed the battle recordings that had leaked through various intelligence networks. They watched humans fight, and they stopped laughing. Many added their own warnings and restrictions. A few brave species sent diplomatic overtures to Earth. Most simply avoided that region of space entirely. On Earth, humanity buried its dead. 12 million people had died in the war. Entire cities were in ruins. The orbital debris would take decades to clear, but they had survived. They had won. Admiral Kate Reeves stood at a massive memorial in what used to be New York. Thousands of names were carved into black stone. So many names. Too many. Beside her stood the survivors. Captain Jake Morrison from Sentinel-7. Sergeant Ben Harris, who had held the line in Colorado. Dr. Lisa Martinez, whose hacked alien systems had saved millions. And hundreds of others, each with their own story of sacrifice and survival. Kate spoke to the assembled crowd. Millions watched on screens around the world. They sent their best to defeat us. 5,000 elite warriors backed by the most powerful fleet their empire could muster. None of them returned. That is the message we sent to the galaxy. That is what we want them to remember. She paused, looking at the memorial. We did not start this war. We tried to avoid it. But when they forced our hand, we showed them what humanity really means. It means standing together when faced with impossible odds. It means never surrendering your home. It means being willing to sacrifice everything to protect those you love. Some of you are asking if they will come back. I do not know, but I do know this. If they come, we will be ready. We have their technology now. We are building new ships, new weapons, new defenses. We are no longer the species that barely knew how to leave our own planet. We are the species that defeated the Krethian Empire, and we will never forget what we learned. Kate raised her hand to her forehead in salute. To the fallen, to the heroes, to everyone who fought, thank you. You saved our world. The crowd saluted back. Then they began to chant, Earth! 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 The sound echoed across the ruins of the city, a defiant roar that said humanity was still here, still strong, still ready to fight if necessary. In space, the Krethian warning beacons pulsed their message. Other alien civilizations watched Earth from a distance, curious and cautious. Some saw a dangerous threat, others saw a potential ally, but all of them learned the same lesson. Humans were not to be underestimated. They might have less advanced technology. They might live on one small planet. But they had something that could not be measured by sensors or calculated by computers. They had the will to fight for every inch of their home. They had the ability to unite in the face of extinction. They had courage that bordered on insanity. The galaxy had learned a hard truth. Humans were now a force to be respected, and anyone who forgot that lesson did so at their own risk. On Earth, humanity looked to the stars with different eyes now. They were no longer alone. The universe was dangerous, filled with species that saw them as either prey or threat. But that was okay. Humans had faced danger before. They had survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and now an alien invasion. Whatever came next, humanity would face it together. They would adapt. They would overcome. And they would make sure that the galaxy never forgot the day they sent their best to defeat humans. And none of them returned.